every time that I make a YouTube video featuring some kind of audio example that you need to listen to critically, maybe an A/B comparison, a blind test, something like this, people inevitably turn up in the comments and say, are you an idiot? You can't A/B stuff on YouTube because the YouTube compression, the MP3 stuff, it completely obliterates the signal, completely decimates the audio quality, so any comparison is completely useless because you're comparing two signals. Well, the differences that you're attempting to hear on YouTube, those differences don't exist anymore because it's gone through the YouTube algorithm stuff, the compression, the MP3 stuff, it's completely obliterated the differences. So that's what we're going to test in today's video because, of course, maybe those hi-fi guys are correct when they say that that DAC sounds like it's glistening like dew on a mountaintop as the sun is ascending in the sky. Maybe that it actually does sound that way, but we just can't hear that because YouTube compression is screwing everything up. So what I'm going to do is sing a song with the ukulele, record the end of some reference material, then I'm going to EQ it in a very subtle way, like a 1 dB boost or something, and maybe I'll do a couple of examples, and then I'll see if I can pass the ABX test just in my DAW with the raw recording. Then I'll upload it to YouTube, and then do a screen capture of it playing on YouTube, and then if I'm able to successfully pass the ABX test again, we'll know that it's a bunch of horseshit, that the YouTube compression obliterates all of the differences in a signal. But if I fail the ABX test, then we'll know that maybe there is something to that, and people shouldn't do subtle A/B comparisons using YouTube because YouTube just destroys the quality of the audio. So let's do that now. Okay, so this is the setup I've got. I just recorded this in. We can see the video of it as well. I put some effects in it. I've got curvature to add a bit of compression and some reverb to make it a tiny bit less raw. So let's just say that's our finished mix here. That's then being sent to this EQ here, and we're getting a 400 Hertz 1.5 dB boost at a standard Q. Because there's this plugin here, which is a really great plugin from Toucan Studios, which is super simple but really great because you can just click A and B, and I'm not going to tell you which is which, and you can try and hear which is which. Is A the one with the EQ or is B the one with the EQ? And let me know in the comments if you can hear any difference at all, because it is quite difficult to do with a live recording because you've got dynamics there in the playing and stuff moves around in terms of the frequencies, so it is quite difficult. So let's have a listen. It's empty in the valley of your heart. The sun, it rises slowly as you walk away from all the fears and all the faults you left behind. The harvest left no food for you to eat. You cannibal, you meat eater, you see. But I have seen the same, I know the shame in your defeat. But I will hold on hope, and I won't let you choke on the noose around your neck. And I find strength in pain, and I will change my ways, know my name as it's called again. So it seems I am able to hear the difference. I could identify it 100% of the time. And for me, it was very difficult because you kind of fooled with the dynamics of the ukulele. If I'm playing loud or strumming in a different place, you might be confused to think that that was the EQ boost, but it was actually just what I was playing. So it is quite hard to hear. Next up is a loop of me playing drums and playing a bit of a Can-inspired beat, so it's very consistent hi-hat, so it should be a bit easier to hear the high frequencies. And so this time we're going to boost 10K 1.5 dB. I'm going to play the A and B again, and you can see if you hear the difference yourself. And I may or may not have swapped it, so if you thought it was A or B previously, it may be different this time. And so let's just listen to the drum loop and see if you can hear any difference. Okay, I'm hoping that maybe 60% of the people couldn't hear that difference, 40% could, something like that. It's not like extremely difficult to hear, but it's pretty challenging. Let's see if I can reliably get it right. Maybe I'll get it wrong. Let's see if I can ABX test it. So I've done it, I think 10 times now, and I can 100% hear the difference. So that's pretty cool. Let's now we've done these two, 400 hertz and 10K. Let's now bounce that out, put it through YouTube and import it back in and see if I can do the same thing and still get a 100% success rate after it's gone through YouTube compression. But for anyone who didn't know, you can't just upload raw audio to YouTube. You need to actually make it into a video because it's a video sharing website, not an audio sharing website. So I've just put my thumbnail for my previous video on here. I'm going to bounce that down in Resolve and then upload that. And if you haven't seen my previous video, the one from which this thumbnail was taken, it's an almost 3-hour long course on compression. I'm going through pretty much everything you need to know on all different types of compression techniques. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. So I'm just going to bounce this down now and then upload it. Let's upload it. So I'm just about to hit play on YouTube and record in OBS, but before I do, I'll show you the settings here that I've got. I've got here in recordings, it's an AAC codec coming through. I think it's coming through at 320, but some of these settings are a tiny bit cryptic, so you never kind of know with OBS. But I'll hit record here and play here. Oops. Let's go back to the start of that. So it's finished recording. That was the original, and that is what I got back. So I think OBS turned the level down, and it's quite a significant amount. It's like 20 dB. Now, that should degrade the audio quality even further. Now, I'm going to say I don't hear a radical difference between the two of them. What I can do is maybe do a comparative EQ. Okay, so the more red one is the original, and the more white one here, you can see a bit there, is the YouTube one. So on YouTube, we're getting a tiny bit more something happening in the sub frequencies, or even almost so low that you can't really hear what that would be doing, I guess. And then in everything, pretty much the entire audible range, it looks almost identical. And then around here somewhere, we're starting to roll off there. What is that, like 18.5K or something? A lot of people can't hear 18.5K anyway, so it's pretty high. So unless you're like 15 years old, you're probably not gonna hear the roll off that much. And yeah, like it's not really rolling off like that radically, to be honest. It's like something above 18K. I don't even know if I can hear above 18K. Like, there's some slight differences, something slight happening there around 16, about 17K, something very slight at 17K. But it looks more or less identical, apart from very subtle things happening in the very high frequencies that many people watching this might not even be able to hear. So let's now chop up the audio, and I'm going to do an ABX test and see if I can still hear the difference between the EQ moves we did. So I've now set up the ABX tool. If we hit A or B, we're going to hear one of these. I'm not sure which way round it is, so we can just have a listen now and see if we can hear the difference between the two, if we can spot which one is EQ'd. It's empty in the valley of your heart. The sun, it rises slowly as you walk away from all the fears and all the faults you left behind. The harvest left. To me, it's evident that B is the one with the 1.5 dB EQ at 400 hertz. And we can A/B test that now and see if I get the right answers. It's empty in the valley of your heart. The sun, it rises slowly as you walk away from all the fears and all the faults you left behind. The harvest left no fruit for you to eat. You cannibal, you meat eater, you see. But I have seen the same, I know the shame in your defeat. So I can hear the difference here. Let's go to the drum one now and see if we can hear any difference just straight off the bat in the drum one. If we can hear it, because it was a 10k EQ here. To me, B is the EQ'd one. It has a bit more of high frequencies. So let's do an ABX test on B on the drum recording and see if I get good answers on this one as well. So let's go with that. Okay, so I'm pretty much hearing that difference as well. So I don't know how obvious that is to people watching this. If it's like, yeah, that's super easy. Or if it's like, I couldn't hear any difference at all. I'm guessing it's going to be kind of like a combination of both. Let me know down below. But I would classify that as a subtle difference. That is a 1.5 dB. It's a fairly subtle difference. So, does uploading to YouTube completely wreck the audio quality and make any A/B comparison or any critical listening on the platform completely stupid? No, I don't think it does. Does it change the audio quality? Yes, of course it changes it in some way, but we all knew that. But it doesn't wreck it to such an extent that it makes listening in a critical way stupid. Because, yes, there is a bit of a high frequency roll off from that compression, that codec that they're using, but they're doing a remarkably good job considering the amount that they're able to squeeze out of the files and make them really small. If you've ever uploaded something to YouTube, you bounce out DaVinci Resolve and it's like 10 gigabytes, and then you then download the video off of your YouTube studio and it's like a few hundred megabytes. It really squeezes those files down real small. And despite that, it doesn't lose so much audio quality that it becomes a nonsensical activity listening on YouTube. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, there is a bit of a high frequency roll off around 18.5K. Yes, there is a tiny bit of drift, but it's so small, it's less than a turntable, probably less than the best tape machine in the world. And it could have just been because of OBS. That was another factor that I had in my setup as well, that I was literally just pressing play and recording with OBS, doing screen recording, which turned it down 20 dB, which probably resulted in being even worse quality, but still I was able to reliably identify which was which. And so it doesn't erase all of the nuance and all of the difference between two signals. So there's always going to be some people in the comments going to be like, yeah, but I could hear that a mile away. That 1.5 dB difference was massive and the audio was just completely destroyed. And there's going to be people commenting that kind of stuff down below. But I think most people aren't going to be thinking that 1.5 dB boost that I did in both cases, that was some kind of absurdly large thing that everyone can hear a mile away. It was fairly subtle, and I think you have to have trained ears to be able to hear that. I could hear that reliably before and after. It was difficult, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like an obvious thing to me. It was quite subtle. And so if you're thinking, oh, how could he hear this stuff? I couldn't hear any difference. Don't worry, it was very subtle. And for all of the people like, yeah, I can hear it a mile off. Okay, sure. But it was quite a subtle boost. But the thing is, 1.5 dB is orders of magnitude more than the differences between different stuff in the hi-fi world. So like if you take like one DAC and compare it to another DAC, we might be talking something like 0.01 dB, or is it maximum like 0.1 dB deviation in the higher frequencies between these two DACs or something like this. So some absolutely microscopic change which nobody is hearing, and they're like, wow, this one sounds so much better. It sounds so mighty and enormous in comparison to this feeble blah. Like the language that they use to describe what is essentially, if you measure it, like a 0.1 dB difference that no one is hearing. And then if you actually put them in an ABX test with a 2 dB boost at 10K, they probably would fail it. And so the same people. So this is what the hi-fi world is all about. It's about imagining these big differences and coming up with flowery adjectives to describe them.